into me, and I go into you, and you go into me.
I remember back in 2019 hearing Door for the first time, the way I was instantly hooked by Caroline's voice and the impeccable writing. This, along with the equally entrancing music video, immediately turned me into a Caroline Polachek fan. It was 2019 and I was deeply immersed in the world of PC music at the time, and Caroline's name had popped up numerous times, yet I had not listened to any of her music. Although saying that, unbeknownst to me, I actually had listened to her voice unknowingly in A.G. Cook's song Lifeline. Ever since then, I have been following her with excitement for every new release or thing she is associated with. In this video, I will be going over one of the most powerful voices in pop, covering everything Caroline has done as a solo artist, her stuff with PC Music, and other associated producers and musicians. This video won't be covering her days in the band Chairlift, as it is focusing specifically on her and what she has accomplished since leaving the band. I also won't be covering her side projects CEP and Ramona Lisa. Welcome, this is episode 2 of our series Cult Figures in Music, a series where I talk passionately about music artists and producers that I have a special soft spot for. These are artists I believe are very unique in the music that they make. But it's not just the music that they make, it is also the entire audio-visual world that they create that surrounds them, whether it's their live shows or DJ sets, the visuals, the music videos, the art, the social media content, the promotional stuff, etc. Caroline Polachek was the vocalist for the synth-pop band Chairlift, which formed in 2005 and ran all the way up until 2017, when the band broke up. Following this, Caroline would venture out on her own, releasing music under her own name, and featuring and writing on many other artists' tracks. Before I delve into her discography and what she has done, I want to make a comparison, and a pretty obvious one at that. If there was one person I could compare Caroline to more so than anyone else, it's got to be Imogen Heap. And while Imogen Heap is British, unlike Caroline, and uses a lot of traditional instruments in her songs, they both have such strong similarities in their music and voices. It's very obvious Caroline took heavy inspiration from Imogen's music. If I'm honest, Imogen Heap is a great person to be inspired by, as Imogen's music is incredible, and she has an incredible talent for songwriting. Now, while it may seem like it, I'm not saying that Caroline is just a clone of Imogen. She absolutely has her own very strong identity and has a very clear and distinct vision for her music. If anything, the person I want Caroline to collaborate with most is Imogen, as I feel like they could create something truly incredible together. But until then, the closest thing we have is Imogen's cover of Caroline's song Door, which she played on an improv YouTube livestream on the 20th of August of 2020 during the pandemic. Another elephant in the room who I have to mention, who is responsible for a lot of the writing and production on Caroline's songs, is Danny L Harle. Danny was part of the label collective PC Music, who had been making pop music under his own name for many years at that point. If there was anyone on the label who was closest to mainstream pop, but with the skills and sensibility to make things really intelligent and musical, to execute and really bring Caroline's vision to life, it would be him. In Caroline's nearly 4 years of releasing songs under her own name, Danny has been a part of the vast majority of them. In 2016, a year before Chairlift broke up, Caroline featured as a vocalist on Danny L Harle's song Ashes of Love, which was released on the 16th of May with an animated music video coming out 3 days later made by Sam Rolfs. The next year, Charli XCX put out Pop 2, the follow-up to her 2017 mixtape Number One Angel, which released earlier that year. Pop 2 was filled to the brim with celebrity guest appearances, including Caroline on the song Tears. During the Pop 2 era, Caroline and Charli would perform this song on stage with such energy together, with this being a real highlight of Charli's shows at that time in 2017 and 2018. In July 2018, a year after Chairlift broke up, PC Music released Felicita's song Marzipan, featuring vocals from Caroline, singing what is Felicita's interpretation of the Polish poem Bil sobie król. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The song was a single from Felicita's debut album, Hey, The track also had a music video directed by Caroline's boyfriend Matt Copson. On June 20th, Caroline released the first song under her own name. It was the first single to her upcoming album Pang, which was scheduled for release later that year. Door is easily one of my favourite Caroline songs. It has such infectious melodies and a beautiful chorus that will never leave your head once it's stuck there. Towards the end of the song, Caroline builds lots of tension masterfully with her voice and the chords building towards the final big chorus of the song. Alongside the song, a music video was released on YouTube that was directed by Caroline and her boyfriend Matt Copson. On the 24th of July 2019, Caroline put out 2 new songs, Ocean of Tears, produced by A.G. Cook, Valley Girl and Danny, and Parachute, releasing the first of the lyric booklets on YouTube. These lyric booklets really displayed the art direction Caroline had for Pang, which you can see on screen. All followed the gate stylization, which was the centerpiece icon used for the imagery of this album. The art direction and titles were all created by Timothy Luke, one of the main people behind the visual side of PC music. Speaking of PC music, let's take a step away from Pang for a moment. In August, on PC Music, A.G. Cook released his song Lifeline, which would later feature as the final track off his album Apple, which released the following year. Lifeline would feature Caroline performing backing vocals on the back end of the track, duetting with A.G., and really bringing the song to a huge and grand conclusion with some really powerful vocal melodies. Remember at the start of the video where I mentioned that I heard Caroline's voice without knowing? Well, this was the song I was talking about. To my ears, A.G. and Caroline both sound really similar, and it's hard to notice her voice in the end of the song as she swaps places with A.G. I believe A.G. probably can't hit some of those really high notes that Caroline can, which really brought the song that extra pang to push it over the finishing line. To this day, it is still my favourite A.G. Cook song. It's really something else, something so unique in his discography, and he delivered completely on it with Caroline. Also, I absolutely adore this video made by Timothy Luke. It's really beautiful and magical and fits so perfectly with the song. Back to Pang, August also saw Caroline release a music video for her song Ocean of Tears, which was again directed by herself and Matt Copson. This video would see Caroline take on a role as a 17th century pirate up in the crow's nest of a ship, hanging from a rope ladder off a sail, scrubbing the decks, finding a beating heart under the water inside of treasure chests. The video is a little cheesy, but extremely well shot and well made at the same time, with a hint of sexiness too. September would arrive, and Caroline released a 4th single for Pang, So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings, written and sung by Caroline and Andrew Wyatt of Miike Snow fame. This song would be accompanied by a music video on the 3rd of October, a much simpler music video depicting Caroline inside of a rocky cavern with a book full of chalk tally marks on a pedestal surrounded by candles. Caroline sings the song and dances around the cavern, which will become a popular TikTok dance later on in 2022. I want to point out the subtle low piano notes that come in at 2 minutes 29 seconds. Where most of the other instruments and sounds fall away for a moment, letting Caroline's voice sit on top of this piano, building tension before the last chorus hits. Caroline announced the 5th and final single to Pang on the 11th of October, with the song arriving on the 14th of October 2019. The song was titled Look At Me Now, a song Caroline wrote in 2018 while neck deep in waves of guilt, self-destructiveness and sudden clarity. She also stated that, quote, "The album is sequenced narratively. Side A is descent through apathy, longing and fear. Side B is a reascent towards revelation, humour and trust. Look At Me Now is from Side A. 4 days later, Pang arrived, complete with 14 songs, starting with The Gate, followed by the title track Pang, then New Normal, Hit Me Where It Hurts, a personal favourite of mine, I Give Up, Look At Me Now, Insomnia, Ocean of Tears, Hey Big Eyes, Go As a Dream, Caroline Shut Up, So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings, Door, and Parachute. With this album, Caroline showed the world who she is, an album entirely her own and showcasing what she is truly capable of. The album also had a really strong art direction, and something I really love is that all the songs had their own individual cover artworks, which isn't seen too often, and it's something I wish Caroline did for her second album too. In December, A.G. Cook would remix Caroline's song So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings, with a new take on the track, pitching Caroline's vocals up a bit and bringing in some of A.G.'s signature sound palette to the track. A.G. also added a really fun, bright electronic chorus to the end of the track to close it out in the most perfect way. The following year would start off strong for Caroline, with Caroline appearing on Jimmy Kimmel Live in January, performing So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings while atop a spinning boulder. Caroline also put out a quick remix for Hayley Williams in March, with a remix of her song Simmer, which came out a couple months prior. In April, Caroline went on KEXP, doing a short interview and performance where she played her songs Go As a Dream, Door, So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings, and Ocean of Tears. Later on in the year, as part of Porter Robinson's Secret Sky online music festival, A.G. Cook would briefly play a different version of the ending to his So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings remix, which, in my opinion, is better than what we got on the released version in December. On the 12th of August 2020, A.G. Cook released his huge 49-track album 7G, which was divided into 7 segments, with 7 tracks each, all centering around a certain instrument or musical concept. In the last section of the album, Extreme Vocals, Caroline pops up 3 times on the tracks All Right, IDL, and her and A.G.'s cover of Sia's hit Chandelier. All Right only features some small backing vocals from Caroline, but IDL and Chandelier feature her voice heavily, with the second half of Chandelier being almost entirely sung by her, really showing off her talent and the range of her voice as she really reaches for those notes like Sia. The other track, the more fascinating track to me, is IDL, which is a cover of a song from A.G.'s side project Life Sim. The original IDL came out in 2015 and had a repeating lead melody that ran throughout the track, slowly rising in tempo throughout the track, and was made out of a simple supersaw sound. On this new version, the supersaw sound is swapped out for Caroline's voice, which A.G. turns into a MIDI instrument and plays with it to develop the melody. Eventually, towards the back end of the track, some new instruments come in, but for the vast majority of the runtime, it's entirely Caroline's voice, manipulated to become a new instrument. This is similar to what Caroline would do on her CEP project, where she crafts ambient pieces entirely out of sine waves. Caroline would later bring it full circle on her Instagram story by singing a short vocal of A.G.'s song Superstar over the top of IDL, sort of like a vocal cover of a song sung over the top of a vocal instrumental cover of an original song. Lastly, on the day before 7G released, Caroline filmed herself singing and screeching into her Apple earbuds as part of A.G. Cook's 7G online curated Zoom release party. A.G. got many different artists to portray the different parts of the album in their own way. In it, Caroline shows off her take on extreme vocals by placing vocal effects over the top of her voice and in the audio space, with lots of effects placed on her voice while walking through a city, a park, a subway, with some extra sounds thrown in, like Lifeline panning from left to right as if a shop she passed was playing it. For A.G. Cook's second album Apple, a live-streamed event was held called Appleville, and on Bandcamp, PC Music put up a Golden Ticket compilation, a virtual ticket which gave you access to the Zoom mosh pit during the stream. Also included were a whole host of goodies, including exclusive tracks, demos, live recordings of the tracks played during the stream, and also a remix of A.G. Cook's song Oh Yeah by Caroline. On it, Caroline duets with A.G. and makes numerous additions to the song, including synthesized bagpipes. In September, Oneotrix Point Never started his 9th album campaign, Magic Oneotrix Point Never, putting out the song Long Road Home featuring Caroline alongside the 2 other songs Crosstalk 1 and Auto and Allo. Caroline's voice can be heard around the midpoint and towards the end of the song, reversed and chopped up. At the end of 2020, PC Music put out a Christmas-themed livestream event called Pop Carol, with Caroline making a surprise appearance at the end with an A.G. Cook-produced Christmas version of So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings, appropriately named So Cold You're Hurting My Feelings. If I'm honest, I kinda prefer this version over the original. Those descending Christmas bells in the last chorus fit stupidly well with the song. On Christmas Day of 2020, Caroline Polachek and Lauren Order released Some Small Hope, which was a cover of the 1986 Virginia Astley and Ryoichi Sakamoto song. The song was released on Bandcamp, and all of the proceeds were to go to charity for the Shelter Partnership in Los Angeles. It was coming up to the 1-year anniversary of Pang, and Caroline had something special lined up. A 10-minute extended version of Pang's opening track, The Gate, releasing on October 20th, complete with a full animated visualizer on YouTube. On the 8th of January, Danny L Harle uploaded what appeared to be a teaser for something new he had coming. The video was titled HXT, and featured a short mix of some upcoming songs, including one which had a recognizable voice. The teaser was for Danny's upcoming album Harlecore. The album centered around music that was created by 4 fictional characters: DJ Danny, being Danny himself, MC Boing, a collaboration between Danny and Little Data, DJ Mayhem, a collaboration between Danny and Hudson Mohawk, and DJ Ocean, which was a collaboration between Danny and Caroline Polachek. The 2 DJ Ocean songs, Ocean's Theme and For So Long, were quite a deviation from the other songs on the album, being ambient pieces with Caroline's voice made into an opera singer, slowed and stretched, with tons of reverb on it. The songs are 2 really entrancing moments on the album, carried by Caroline's voice and her wide vocal range. Danny also played a few Harlecore shows with Caroline as a special guest. Announcing Standing at the Gate, a collection of remixes, new versions, and a new song, Breathless, releasing on digital plus vinyl on April 1st, 2021. Breathless being a cover of The Core's original song. This collection featured new remixes of Door from OK Lou, Ocean of Tears by Umru, a Hey Big Eyes remix from George Clanton, and a Hit Me Where It Hurts remix from Toro y Moi, with new vocals from Chino Moreno of Deftones fame, as well as the previous year's So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings remix from A.G. Cook. Also, alongside this were new versions of Parachute, New Normal, and the Gate Extended Mix mentioned before. I would have loved for this to also have included A.G.'s unreleased remix of Hey Big Eyes, as well as a fully recorded cover of Door from Imogen Heap, but what we got was already enough to satisfy the fans easily. In May of 2021, we would also get Caroline's Oh Yeah remix on A.G. Cook's Apple vs 7G remix album. Personally, I wish PC Music waited till this album to release this remix. It seemed a bit random and odd to put it out months earlier on the Golden Ticket compilation. On the 15th of July of 2021, Caroline released her song Bunny is a Rider, complete with a music video and a behind-the-scenes video directed by herself and Matt Copson, released over the following weeks. It wasn't known at the time, but this song would be the first single for Caroline's new album, which wouldn't come out for another year and a half. I do feel like this song was appropriate for the first single, since it feels like a bridge between her first and second album. This song features production and writing once again from Danny L Harle, but also a small sample of the voice of Danny's baby Nico, an intelligently used voice which fills in some spots in the instrumental perfectly. Danny would also be credited playing the bass guitar on the track. The next single Caroline put out was Billions, which also had its own music video. I feel like in this song, Caroline sounds most like Imogen Heap. The song featured a choir section at the end, sung by the Trinity Croydon Choir. Originally, I wasn't as much of a fan of this song, but that main vocal hook always stayed in my head. The song grew on me over time, and now I love it as much as I love the rest of Caroline's discography. I want to say this song's music video is really incredible, so colourful, the lighting is spot on, and Caroline's vision for this is so strong. Alongside Billions, Caroline also put out her own full vocal version of Oneotrix Point Never's song Long Road Home as a B-side release. The tracks both released on either side of a 7-inch vinyl on Caroline's merch store. If I'm honest, I prefer Caroline's vocals on this song to the originals, although the original is still excellent. At the end of 2021, Caroline and A.G. Cook would be credited for writing and production of Skin to Skin, off Hyde's debut self-titled EP on PC Music. This track honestly does not sound like Caroline at all, but I'm not complaining, because the track is so good in its own right. A week after Skin to Skin, Charli XCX would drop a music video for the second single for her upcoming album Crash. The song New Shapes featured her and Charli alongside Christine and the Queens. I love this song. It's a very simple Charli pop song, but so effective and catchy at the same time. The song would have a simple structure of a chorus, a verse from Charli, followed by a chorus, then a verse from Christine, followed by another chorus, then a verse from Caroline, with a final chorus at the end. To me, I know I'm going to upset a lot of Charli fans here, but I feel like this song should have been a standalone track. It's very effective by itself, but to me it sticks out a little on Crash, with nothing that is really similar to it stylistically. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Now back to Caroline.
And we had, I think, just made that one snippet. Just one of those iterations. Very simple, like just chords and a lyricless vocal. And then the next time I heard it was after Danny and Harley took it away and maxed it out into this big thing.
He was at the end of the session. I was with Danny, and he was just like, I was like, by the way, is there anything that you got like laying around that like you haven't been using or whatever? And he was like, played me that thing, and I was like, wow, it was just a voice note with this simple chord progression. I was like, this is amazing. Like, there's so much potential in here. So I took that home to Australia.
When I got that track back from the two of them, I was in like deep, dark lockdown. And there actually were sirens going nonstop in London. Then when I showed the lyrics to L Harle, he was like, the song's got to be called Sirens. And I was like, no, it's got to be called And If, because each iteration begins with this idea, and if I had control, if I could change things, you know, if this was in my hands, but it's not. But he was like, no, mate, it's got to be called Sirens. And then so it was.
Sirens is a strong title.
It's a good title.
It's a strong title.
It's a very odd, you know,
2022 comes around, and on January 1st, Flume releases a new video teasing a new album this year. His third album, Palaces, which was released on the 20th of May, would come with a song featuring Caroline. The song, called Sirens, was made during the pandemic over the internet while Caroline was in London. Caroline would mention in an interview that during that time she could always hear sirens outside from emergency services on the streets below. The song feels like it's continuously building and building tension, with Flume's signature stuttery, offbeat synths, with Caroline's voice sounding like an angel or a mythical siren from above, with Danny adding the extra details to the instrumental that bring it all together. To me, this song is a real highlight off the album and one of my favourite Flume songs in general, although I do have a lot of those now I come to think about it. April 2022, Coachella, one of the biggest music festivals on the planet, and Caroline Polachek would play her live show, playing many of her songs from Pang, as well as Breathless, Bunny as a Rider, Billions, and 2 unreleased songs from her second album, Sunset and Smoke. Caroline also did an interview with K-Rock at Coachella, link in the description if you want to watch the whole thing. It's very, very interesting. The next month in May, Caroline briefly popped up on Mukage Dave's track Awful Things as part of his album The City Needs a Hero. Later in June, Caroline would also perform at the massive Glastonbury Music Festival. On July 14th, 2022, Hyde would release a new song on PC Music, featuring writing and production by Caroline. A few months later, in November 2022, Caroline alongside Nomac would be credited for additional vocals on Hyde's song Glass off her debut album Clearing. Caroline continued to play shows and festivals until one day on social media she announced not one but two new things, one being the next single to her second album, Sunset, arriving October 17th, but also something else the next day. On the Instagram post about Sunset, Caroline also commented this, quote, "Played this one live for a year now to let it morph. And to anyone pretending to be annoyed by that, welcome to life. Ownership is fake and desire is real." End quote. No one knew at the time, but this last part was a tease to her new album title. The next day, Caroline posted a new piece of music for the opera Last Days. The piece was composed by Oliver Leith, with production from Danny, vocals from Caroline, and performed by a full orchestra. Fast forward to the 17th, and Caroline released Sunset, produced by Sega Bodega. This song had been played live by Caroline for about a year until this point, and to me, feels like the moment that the Pang era ended and the second album era fully started, with Bunny as a Rider and Billions as songs that transitioned us between those eras. Sunset sonically has such a strong, summery Spanish theme, with Caroline and Sega able to pack such a strong pop song into the space of 2 minutes and 43 seconds. December 22nd, 2022 was a special day, announcing Welcome to My Island, the lead single from Caroline's second album, and in my opinion, Caroline's best song. The song has all the ingredients for a truly incredible pop song, with Caroline starting off the song strong with just her voice wailing before the instrumental starts. But that wasn't all. Caroline also announced Desire, I Want to Turn Into You, her long-awaited second album, releasing on Valentine's Day 2023. If the anticipation for her second album wasn't there before, it was now in full force. Releasing this song alongside the announcement of her album was a perfect move to make, creating so much excitement and momentum so quickly. 2023 rolled around, and on TikTok, Caroline and Charli teased a clip of a new version of Welcome to My Island, which would later release on a remix EP towards the end of the month. The EP featured remixes from Charli XCX and her boyfriend, the 1975's George Daniel, alongside a remix from PVA. Charli and George fittingly made the remix on an island while on holiday together. PVA tried something interesting and took Caroline's vocals and made them all follow a single note, with a new instrumental behind it, which sounds like it would make the song worse in theory, but I actually liked it surprisingly. On January 28th, 2023, Caroline released the next single, Blood and Butter, releasing Monday the 31st of January. On January 31st, 2023, Blood and Butter arrived, but more importantly, Caroline would post a video to her social media where she listed all the tracks that would be on Desire, I Want to Turn Into You. The album featured Welcome to My Island, Pretty Impossible, Bunny as a Rider, Sunset, Crude Drawing of an Angel, I Believe, Fly to You, featuring Grimes and Dido, Blood and Butter, Hope Drunk Ever Asking, Butterfly Net, Smoke, and Billions. Just days before the album would release, Caroline premiered her new show on her new Spiraling tour in Brighton, England, playing every song of her new album ahead of the release. On Valentine's Day 2023, Caroline released her second album, Desire, I Want to Turn Into You, my personal favourite album of the year so far, and easily some of her best work yet. Desire, which is how I will be referring to the album for the rest of the video, keeps things fresh for Caroline, bringing a whole host of new sounds to her sonic palette, including breakbeats, whistles, bass guitar, vintage synths, and even some bagpipes. The album also has a continuously fluctuating energy throughout the tracklist, with some of the higher energy cuts such as Welcome to My Island, a huge grand opening to the album, as well as songs such as I Believe and Fly to You. The album would also be able to sink down to some quieter and more somber and slower paced tracks like Crude Drawing of an Angel, Blood and Butter, and Hope Drunk Ever Asking. This is a really cohesive, well-produced pop album with something for everyone. Desire was also the first time that Caroline had features on a song. Up until this point, she had featured on many songs, but never had anyone featured on her music. And with the song Fly to You, she has made it big, getting none other than Grimes and 2000s pop singer Dido. Grimes starts off the song with a very grimesy verse as a fast jungle breakbeat comes in. Caroline then takes over with Grimes adding some atmospheric ad-libs with her voice in the background. Dido then comes in with a verse of her own. Grimes and Caroline then trade places back and forth until Dido ends out the track. For such a simple song that is so vocally driven, this is easily one of my favourite songs off the entire album. Fast-paced, like a jungle rave pop ballad with a guitar that sounds straight out of Robert Miles's famous song Children. As of right now, Caroline is on tour performing songs new and old, starting in Europe and then travelling to the US with a whole host of openers, with DOS opening for the Europe shows and a short list of openers in the US being Tora Imoir, Sudan Archives, Alex G, Magdalena Bay, George Clanton, and Ethel Cain. Before I end the video, I'd like to mention a few little fun facts. The chanting shout from the start of Look at Me Now was reused in Welcome to My Island. On Desire, Grimes' verse in Fly to You follows the same melody of the bagpipes in Blood and Butter. The whistle sound from Bunny as a Rider can also be heard briefly in the background of I Believe at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Also, the cover art for Desire I Turn Into You has many Easter eggs and references to music videos and songs from the album. Grimes and Caroline have both done short performances on KEXP, link to both of them will be in the description. Thanks for watching. All the links to the songs and videos used in the video will be in the description below. I also have plans to cover more artists in the future, but also, if you want to have a say in who I cover in the future or what length videos you prefer, there's a short form on the homepage of our website. I will have a link at the top of the description if you want to fill it out. Anyway, that's about it. Now be sure to like and do all the things that every other person on this site tells you to do. I'll see you next time.